In the summer of 1940, the most powerful air force ever assembled prepared to destroy Britain from the sky. The Luftwaffe had crushed Poland, demolished France, and perfected the art of aerial warfare. But they were about to encounter something they couldn't see, couldn't bomb, could barely comprehend: an invisible shield, built not from steel, but from radio waves and human ingenuity. By July 1940, Hitler controlled Europe from Norway to the Pyrenees. Only Britain remained, and Winston Churchill knew what was coming. The Luftwaffe, 2,800 aircraft, battle-hardened crews, devastating tactics perfected over Poland, Belgium, France. RAF Fighter Command, 640 fighters, exhausted pilots, and one desperate advantage that German intelligence was about to fatally underestimate. Dr. James Holland, German intelligence knew about British radar. They detected the transmissions. But they fundamentally misunderstood what they were facing. They saw individual radar stations. What they didn't see was the system, the network, the integration of technology, people, and tactics. That blindness would cost them everything. To the Luftwaffe, radar was a curiosity, a laboratory experiment. How could invisible waves detect aircraft through clouds, through darkness, across hundreds of miles of sky? They were about to find out. Sarah Wentworth was 22 years old when she joined the Women's Auxiliary Air Force in March 1940. She expected to type letters and file reports. Instead, they taught her to see the invisible. Sarah stares at a oscilloscope screen, green sweeping line, mysterious blips. Every blip is an aircraft. That one's 60 miles away. You'll track them, plot their course, and vector our fighters to intercept. Sarah, 60 miles? How can we possibly see 60 miles? I, an instructor, we can see 100, and the Germans have no idea. Former WAAF operator Vera Lynn, we were just girls, really, 18, 19 years old, and they handed us this incredible responsibility. These blips on our screens, each one was a German bomber trying to kill British cities, and we were the only ones who could see them coming. The weight of that, you'd finish your shift and just shake. The invisible shield began with one man's obsession. Robert Watson, Watt, a Scottish physicist, had been experimenting with radio waves for years. In 1935, the Air Ministry asked him an impossible question. Could radio waves destroy enemy aircraft? Watson, we can't destroy aircraft with radio waves, not enough power. But we could detect them, see them coming before they arrive. Colleague, from how far? Watson, Watt, I don't know. 50 miles? 100? Imagine having 100 miles of warning. Science historian Dr. Patricia Farah, Watson, Watt understood something crucial. In warfare, information is as valuable as firepower, maybe more valuable. Give a fighter pilot 10 minutes warning, and suddenly he's not scrambling blindly. He's precisely positioned at the right altitude, the right vector, with speed and height advantage. Radar didn't destroy German aircraft. It arranged for them to be destroyed. By July 1940, 20 chain home stations ringed Britain's coast. Each tower could detect aircraft up to 120 miles away. But the towers were only the beginning. The real innovation was the system. Radar stations fed data to filter rooms. Filter rooms fed sector stations. Sector stations vectored fighters. And at the center, the beating heart, was Fighter Command Operations Room. Every aircraft in British airspace appeared on one master plot. Air Marshal Sir Christopher Foxley Norris. The Germans had radar too. Their Würzburg system was actually more accurate than ours. But they used it for anti-aircraft guns, individual weapons. We used it as a complete air defense system. Every part talking to every other part. That made all the difference. Radar station, day. Sarah at oscilloscope. Sudden multiple returns. Sarah, plots, multiple aircraft, 70 miles, bearing 110. She phones filter room, information flows up the chain. Pilot, I have visual, Dornier formation, 15 plus. She hears machine gun fire, German aircraft going down. Sarah, this works, this really works. Historian Stephen Bungay, that first successful intercept proved the concept. Before radar, fighter pilots would scramble and hope to stumble onto the enemy. It was impossibly inefficient. Now, they knew exactly where to go. The Germans were flying into a carefully laid trap, and they had no idea. German pilot interview, 1975. After 3 or 4 missions, we started to notice. British fighters were always in the right position, at the right altitude. It was unnerving. Some of us wondered if they had spies in our briefing rooms. It seemed more likely than invisible detection rays. Dr. Overy. The Germans developed elaborate theories. Perhaps the British had an extensive spy network. Perhaps they were monitoring radio traffic. Perhaps their pilots had supernatural luck. They couldn't accept the simpler answer. British technology and organization had leapfrogged ahead. July turned to August. The Luftwaffe intensified its attacks. And with each raid, Sarah and thousands like her refined their skills. The invisible shield was about to face its greatest test. The Battle of Britain was beginning, and only one side could see the battlefield. August 13th, 1940. Eagle Day. Hermann Göring's grand offensive to destroy Fighter Command once and for all. The Luftwaffe launched 1,485 sorties in a single day. Every radar screen in southern England lit up like a Christmas tree. NT Chain Home Station. Morning Sarah's screen erupts with contacts. Sarah, 50-plus bandits, multiple formations. They're everywhere. Supervisor, plot them all. We can't miss anything. Hundreds of markers appearing on the table. Controllers shouting vectors. Every squadron scrambled. Wing Commander Tom Neal. That day, we flew 4, sometimes 5 sorties. Land, refuel, rearm, straight back up. And every single time, the controllers put us exactly where we needed to be. Without radar, we'd have been flying blind, burning fuel, achieving nothing. With it, we fought outnumbered but never outpositioned. Operations room, continuous duty. Sarah's been on duty 14 hours, eyes red, hands shaking from caffeine and adrenaline. Supervisor, Sarah, you need rest. Sarah, so do the pilots. There were days we worked 18-hour shifts. The raids never stopped. You'd plot one formation, vector fighters, and before that battle even finished, 50 more aircraft would appear on your screen. We couldn't fail. If we missed something, people died, cities burned. That knowledge kept us going when our bodies wanted to collapse. August 13-18, 1940. 2006-9 Luftwaffe sorties, RAF fighters, 744 sorties directed by radar. German. August 12th, the day before Eagle Day, the Luftwaffe tried something new. They attacked the radar stations themselves. Ventnor, on the Isle of Wight, took direct hits. The station went dark. For the first time, a gap opened in Britain's invisible shield. Fighter Command HQ, crisis, meeting air. Chief Marshal doubting, how long until Ventnor is back online? Engineer, 3 weeks, maybe a month. The damage is extensive. Doubting. Then we deceive them, leave the towers standing, make them think it still works. They realize radar is vulnerable, they'll attack every station. Doubting made a brilliant decision. They kept the damaged towers standing and had mobile radar units simulate Ventnor's transmissions. The Germans thought the attack failed. They concluded radar stations were too tough to destroy, and they stopped trying. If they'd realized the truth and systematically targeted every chain home station, the battle might have ended very differently. Göring recreation based on records. We bombed their radio towers. They're still working. Clearly, these installations are not critical to their air defense. We will focus on the airfields and aircraft factories. Dr. Overy. This was the critical German mistake. They identified radar, they attacked it, saw it was tough, and moved on. They never understood the system's architecture. They saw towers, just metal and concrete. They didn't see the network, the integration, the fact that every WAAF operator, every filter room plotter, every operations room controller was as vital as the towers themselves. You can't bomb a system. Some German pilots started noticing patterns. Radar detected high-altitude formations easily, but low-level attackers coming in below 500 feet sometimes got through undetected. The shield had weaknesses, and desperate men would exploit them. Commander subtitled, "Flying low burns more fuel and limits our bomb load. But if it gets us past their detection, it's worth it." Hedge hopping, 50 meters altitude. Their mysterious rays can't see through the earth. Pilot, and if we encounter fighters? Commander, at that altitude, you die. But at least you'll deliver your bombs first. August 18th, 1940. The Luftwaffe threw everything into one massive blow. 6 major raids, over 750 sorties. They called it the hardest day. For the women watching the invisible battlefield, it was about to become impossible. Operations room, the hardest day chaos. Every squadron committed. new raids appearing before previous ones cleared. Sarish, new raid, raid 62, 60+ bandits. Controller, I have nothing left. Every squadron is engaged. Senior controller, then re-vector 234 squadron. Pull them off their current intercept. Sirrah, sir, that leaves raid 61 unopposed. Senior controller, I know. Quick cuts between, Spitfires engaging BF-10-9s, Hurricanes attacking Dornier bombers, German aircraft breaking through, RAF pilots outnumbered, fighting desperately, bombs falling on airfields. Aircraft exploding, BACKTO, Saray's face. She's watching the raid she couldn't cover, marking German aircraft that got through. Each marker is bombs falling on Britain, tears streaming down her face, but her hands never stop working. Neil, emotional. The hardest day, we lost 69 aircraft, but we destroyed 75 of theirs. Against those odds, that shouldn't have been possible. It was only possible because someone on the ground was watching, directing, making sure we weren't wasted. Making sure every Spitfire and Hurricane hit something vital before they got us. Those girls in the operations rooms, they saved us. Operations room, night shift ending. Sarah removes her headset, stares at the now empty plotting table. Supervisor approaches. Supervisor, you did well today. Saved lives. Sarah, not everyone. No, not everyone. But more than if we were blind. Remember that. Sarah nods, gathers her things, leaves. Hold on, empty operations room, the invisible shield held. Barely. German staff officer. By late August, even Goring couldn't ignore the reports. Every attack, the British fighters were positioned perfectly. It was no longer credible to dismiss it as luck or espionage. One of our intelligence officers finally said it. Their radio detection works, and it works far better than we thought possible. First, acceptance that British radar existed and functioned. Second, that it was integrated into their air defense. Third, and this took longest, that the integration itself was the weapon. By the time they fully understood, it was too late. The Luftwaffe tried everything. Radio jamming, ineffective. Low-level attacks, too costly. Night bombing, Britain had radar for that too. Every adaptation came too late, cost too much, and encountered a system that evolved faster than they could respond. Luftwaffe HQ, September 1940. German General, we've lost 600 aircraft in 3 weeks. The British have lost 400. We have 3 times their numbers, and we're barely breaking even. Göring then, we need 6 times their numbers. General, Reichsmarschall, I don't think numbers are the problem. They can see us coming. Always. We're fighting blind against an enemy who sees everything. Ring, then we bomb at night. On September 7th, the Luftwaffe made a fateful decision. Unable to defeat fighter command by day, they would attack British cities by night. The Battle of Britain, the daylight struggle for air superiority, was essentially over. The British had won, and the invisible shield had held. Sarah teaching new WAAAF recruits. Sarah, every blip on your screen is someone trying to kill British people. Your job is to arrange for them to fail. You're not just technicians. You're warriors. The first warriors who've ever fought with invisible weapons. German pilots call radar a parlor trick. Let them. While they're laughing, we're vectoring Spitfires onto their tails. Do you ever get scared? Sarah, every day. But being scared means you understand the stakes. Use that. Let it make you precise. By September 1940, the day battle was won. The Luftwaffe had lost 1733 aircraft. Fighter command 915. Against 3-to-1 odds, that was impossible. Except it wasn't impossible, because one side could see and the other was flying blind. Narration, September 15, 1940. The Luftwaffe launched one final daylight assault on London. 200 aircraft in 2 massive waves. Hitler wanted London burning. Göring promised him victory. The invisible shield had other plans. Operations Room, September 15th. The system at peak efficiency. Practiced. Confident. Sarah, Raid 1, 100+ bandits, Angels, 18, Course 285. Multiple controllers vectoring multiple squadrons. Controller 1, 603 Squadron, Vector 180, Angels 20. Controller 2, 41 Squadron, Vector 150, Angels 18. Controller 3, 92 Squadron, hold at readiness. Perfect coordination. Like a conductor leading an orchestra. CUTO, multiple fighter squadrons. 5 different RAF squadrons converging from different directions, different altitudes. Pilot radio, tally-ho, bandits 11 o'clock high. CUT-2, German, formation. Suddenly attacked from multiple angles simultaneously. German pilot, subtitled, "They're everywhere, where did they come from? Massive." Air battle, spectacular footage. Multiple quick cuts, Spitfires diving, German bombers breaking formation, Hurricanes attacking, aircraft falling, parachutes deploying. British fighters perfectly positioned, CUT-2, operations room, Sarah, watching the plot. German formation fracturing, some turning back, others pressing on. Sarah, Raid 2 forming, 150-plus bandits. Controller, they're coming back. All squadrons, rearm and re-engage. Bach, 1 re-engage. Cut 2, Seacound wave engagement. Again, perfect interception. German aircraft met before reaching London. Aka 2, Goring's HQ, later Goring. Archival recreation. What do you mean, our formations were destroyed? All of them? How many British fighters did we face? Officer, intelligence estimates, 300, Herr Reichsmarschall. Goring impossible. Intelligence says they have barely 100 operational. Pause. Realization. Officer. Unless they can position every fighter exactly where needed, never waste a single aircraft, always at maximum efficiency. Goring. How do you fight an enemy who sees everything? Interview, Stephen Bungay. September 15th was the day the Luftwaffe finally understood what they were facing. Not just radar, not just fighters, but a complete system where every element supported every other element. They were fighting the future, and they were still using tactics from the past. The Luftwaffe lost 60 aircraft that day, or so the RAF claimed. The actual number was 26, but the psychological impact was far greater than any number. For the first time, Goring questioned whether Britain could be beaten from the air. 2 days later, Hitler postponed Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Britain, indefinitely. The day battle was over, Britain had survived. Operations Room, evening September 15th. Shift ending. Sarah and fellow operators exhausted, but aware they've witnessed something historic. Supervisor, well done, everyone. Intelligence reports the Luftwaffe is withdrawing daylight operations. You kept the shield intact when it mattered most. Sarah's, quietly, to colleague, do you think they finally understand what we've been doing? For colleague, the Germans, or our own side? Sarah's, both. They share a knowing look. Pioneers in a war no one fully comprehends yet. Churchill, archival, audio, September 1940. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. Churchill spoke of the fighter pilots, the few. But behind those few were thousands of unseen warriors. Scientists, engineers, radar operators, plotters, controllers. The invisible shield was built by invisible hands, and it had just changed warfare forever. The fighter pilots became legends. Medals, parades, immortal fame. But the women who had directed those fighters, who had made victory possible, most of their work remained classified until the 1970s. Sarah Wentworth's name appears in no history book, yet without her and thousands like her, the Battle of Britain would have been lost. We weren't allowed to talk about what we did. Not during the war, not after. Our families thought we'd spent the war filing papers and making tea. My husband never knew. He died in 1968, and I never told him I'd helped win the Battle of Britain. We were sworn to secrecy, and we kept our word. When they finally declassified it in the 70s, I told my children. They didn't believe me at first. Mum, you? You won the war? Laughs through tears. Not just me, dear, but yes, we did our part. Former Luftwaffe General Adolf Galland, 1960s. We lost the Battle of Britain before it began, but we didn't know it. They had integrated their entire air defense into a single organism. Radar, fighters, ground control, communications, all functioning as one entity. We had superior aircraft in some respects, better pilots in many cases, far greater numbers. But we fought as individuals. They fought as a system. In modern warfare, the system defeats the hero every time. Dr. Overy, The Germans learned this lesson eventually. Their Kammhuber line defense system later in the war borrowed heavily from British integrated air defense. But they learned it too late, and at too high a cost. The British had one crucial advantage: they had to innovate. They were weaker, so they had to be smarter. Necessity forced them to think systematically, while Germany could rely on brute force. Until brute force stopped working. Watson, Watt, Archival, 1950s. People ask me if I'm proud of inventing radar. I always correct them: I didn't invent radar. I invented a system that used radar. The technology was interesting, but the system was revolutionary. The Germans had radar. The Americans had radar. We had radar plus organization, plus training, plus integration, plus doctrine, plus the courage of young women and men who made it all work under unimaginable pressure. That's not an invention. That's a transformation. Dramatic, Recreation XT, Shane Home Tower, 1945. Watson, Watt, standing at base of tower, looking up. War is over. Tower scheduled for demolition. WATC, Watson, Watt, to accompanying officer. Future generations will see these towers and think they won the war. They didn't. The people won the war. The system won the war. These towers were just the most visible part of something invisible. Officer, will anyone remember that, sir? Watson, Watt, eventually, when the secrecy lifts and the real story can be told. The Battle of Britain was the first time in human history that a complex adaptive system defeated traditional military force. Business, medicine, logistics, education. Every field has learned this lesson. Integration beats isolation. Networks beat hierarchies. Information flow beats raw power. In 1940, that was a radical idea. The invisible shield of 1940 became the foundation of modern technological warfare and modern civilian life. Every aircraft you've ever flown on was guided by radar. Every weather forecast, every microwave oven, every medical ultrasound. Technologies that trace their lineage directly back to those desperate days when Britain's survival depended on seeing the invisible. But the real legacy wasn't the technology, it was the thinking. Modern military strategist, network-centric warfare, C4ISR, command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, joint operations. These modern concepts all descend from 1940 Britain. They proved that information superiority can overcome material inferiority, that integrated systems defeat isolated capabilities, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Every military in the world now operates on principles first proven over the skies of southern England. Battle of Britain Museum, 1985. Sarah, now 67, stands before radar display. Young family walks up, father reading plaque to children. Father, chain home radar, secret weapon that won the Battle of Britain, amazing technology. Child, what did it do, Dad? Father, it could see German planes before they arrived. Gave our fighters time to intercept. Child, cool. Did computers operate it? Father, no computers back then. People operated it. Probably some RAF officers. Sarah smiles, says nothing. Moves on to next exhibit. Chilled, chawling after her. Did you live through the war, ma'am? Sarah, churning back. Yes, dear, I did. Child, what did you do? Sarah, beat. Small smile. I helped keep the lights on. She walks away. Camera holds on radar display. In the summer of 1940, German pilots called radar a parlor trick. By autumn, they stopped laughing. By 1945, every nation was building their own invisible shields. The lesson they learned too late was simple. In war, in business, in life, the connected defeat the isolated, the integrated defeat the fragmented. The system defeats the hero. Robert Watson, Watt, saw it first. Hugh Dowding organized it. Sarah Wentworth and thousands like her operated it. And together, they proved that the invisible can be more powerful than anything you can see. The invisible shield saved Britain. But more than that, it showed the world a new way to think. About technology, about organization, about the power of people working as one. Sometimes the most powerful weapons are the ones you can't see. Sometimes the greatest warriors are the ones whose names are never spoken, and sometimes a parlor trick changes history. Neil, looking directly at camera, flew hurricanes in the Battle of Britain. I'm in the history books. They call us the few. Churchill praised us. We got medals, fame, recognition. But I want to tell you something those history books often miss. Every time I took off, someone on the ground was watching for me. Some young woman I never met, staring at a screen, guiding me toward the enemy, keeping me alive. I was the arrow. She was the archer. I got the glory. She kept the secret for 30 years. So when you remember the Battle of Britain, remember this. Behind every Spitfire in the sky was a girl on the ground, fighting with invisible weapons in an invisible war. And they won it.